went next door to see his show with some friends from Southern Pines, and I saw Stephanie's art, and she was there, and I met her, and I was just really impressed by her technical abilities, her talent. And that's what it takes: talent, it takes technique, and also a recognizable style. And I see a very recognizable style here. And then you combine that with the message that she has and the very full life that she's lived in her short 31 years. So I think we're very honored to have someone in Fayetteville who's done so much for the community and also is willing to share her talents with us. So let's have a big round of applause for Stephanie.
Well, peace, light, and so much love to you all for coming out. This is, as I've been spreading to my friends, this is, I feel as though, the start and the completion of me setting stone. My artistry and the love that I do have for Fayetteville and growing up here, and moving on to something grander and great, because I've been putting in a lot of work here. I grew up in Fayetteville, got here by way of the military. My father was in the military. And in 2000, jumped into 2006, at 19, I came up reactive on the HIV antibody test. And for me, I fell into depression hard, very, very hard. And I needed to find a way to get back out of that depression, so for me, it was creating. And I didn't know it was creating until I picked up a book of mine that I made from junior high and high school. And it was all these sketches that I did. And when I realized how good I was, I asked myself, why did I stop in the first place? And from there, I created a powerful sketch, which is the first edition of The Awakening. And the first edition is just like a black and white sketch. It's me with shorter hair. But it was all of the emotions I started to feel when I started getting into my activism as far as HIV. And when I realized that they, when I say they, I mean those in power, they don't want to do anything about HIV and AIDS because it's $1 trillion business. It's a pharmaceutical business. As long as they're making money off of us, they're not going to do anything about it. But with that, and then me being alone and being depressed, it was all of those emotions that I put into that one piece. And I made the second edition because now I have locks, going into the lock journey, and I just needed something that was more updated. But the red in the eyes, the first edition was actual blood, not actual blood, when I say that, it wasn't blood on the canvas or something, but it was a representation of blood because all the blood that's put into the fight. The 3 to 4 months of them picking and probing me and taking blood from me and having to go through that whole cycle of taking the medication and realizing the medication was causing a lot of side effects, but then them telling me that they weren't causing it because the stigma, discrimination, all of that. When it comes to that field of HIV that people don't care about. People would rather not hear about because they feel as though it has nothing to do with them. But when it comes to the medical scare industry, is what I like to call it, it has everything to do with us. And if we don't put in that kind of emotion to have anything solved, nothing's going to be done. So I wanted to create that, and then the two pieces next to it. One is a piece to represent Haiti. And in translation, it says, we want our freedom to live, AIDS 1983. And if you read the plaque, it goes into back in 1983 when they considered all Haitians to have AIDS. And it was just the ignorance that they put out there. In their CDC reports, they wanted to classify all Haitians having AIDS, but Haiti at the time had the highest fertility rate, the third highest fertility rate. And then a lot of Haitians were coming here to the US for a better life. So when you categorize the same people who are fighting for their lives, and they're black, and they're coming from a country which is poor, you have to start, there are some red flags that have to be raised. So I wanted to represent that in Africa, which is heavily devastated by AIDS diagnosis, and the 15 countries that are highlighted in that, on that continent, are part of the PEPFAR, which is President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief. And with that, there's this huge plan to go out and give medication to everyone. But the truth is that people are dying not from a virus, but they're dying from being malnourished and from other diseases. But they categorize everybody on that island, on that continent to have AIDS when they don't even test people for HIV in the first place. It's all about money at the end of the day. So that's where my activism stands. It's not necessarily prevention, because I feel as though prevention goes back to how you feel about yourself. It's about your self-esteem. It's about getting to the mind of the young people before they make a decision to take a test, because it's not about the test. The tests, after working in the field, the tests are faulty. They really are. And we're not getting any answers because, again, as long as it's $1 trillion company, there aren't going to be any answers other than to keep pulling money from us. But we, pardon my language, have the power to shut shit down if we really wanted to, when we start opening up our minds and our mouths. So I created those pieces. Those are my oldest pieces as far as the two on the side. And all of this just came from my meditation and my peace. And my saying tonight is, it's from peace to profit. Did not know that I would be an artist. I actually wanted to go into the medical field, ironically, when I was little. I wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to be an OBGYN. And when I got into, after my diagnosis, when I found out, I figured in my head that I couldn't be in the medical field and visiting a hospital every three to 4 months. It wasn't my thing. I didn't feel comfortable doing that. And how the universe works, I'm in the field, but not necessarily a part of it. I'm an activist for it, just to see my people healed, to see everyone healed, because I feel as though we are deserving of answers. But all of these pieces, my newest pieces, I'm going to introduce first, and it's, can you hand me my bag? My newest pieces, just gotta grab my phone. This one over here in the corner, when you first walk in with the flowers, is called Bloom. And each of my newest pieces have poetry attached to it. There's a poem attached to the newest pieces. So this one I want to introduce to you called Bloom. And that one, if anybody is familiar with Goddess Oshun, that is who she represents, but it's also representing the throat chakra for you to speak into what you want and to allow it to bloom. Your creativity, and allow that to bloom, and to use your voice to allow what it is that you want to grow and to manifest into your desires. So, the poem for that one goes as, bloom baby girl into what God you. Create whatever allows you to speak. The world needs to hear it. Fear shouldn't be near it. Though anxiety keeps you excited, you learn if it doesn't make you nervous, it ain't worth it. Feel your freedom. Let it guide you closer to what's inside you. Feel the warmth of peace fall on your shoulders as you rest better on yellow pillows. Clouds can be whatever you paint them. Just make sure you don't taint them with neglect. Eyes closed, you feel at your best, so make it. So that's Bloom. And then these two pieces back here are, and these are called my texture pieces. The other piece here is called Mother. And I wanted to create this in time for July 4th. And if you just don't feel it already, basically it's saying that we built this. We as women built this. Going back to the mother civilization, the red and white blue fabric on her head and the deep melanin. I'm very proud of my culture. Very, very proud of who I am and our history. And I feel as though more people should celebrate it. So, that piece, that poem goes as Mother. She is a reason for existence. America stands on her lost representation, miscommunication. Her presence is present without speaking. She's the only secret they're keeping, disregarded in history, but she's the reason why it's written. The sun looks after her, ruled by the night. She stands waiting on porch steps. She never rests while the weak and needy reach for her breast. She is where we all started. And that's that piece. And then my favorite piece, he's not here right now, but this piece is actually a friend of mine who I admire because he is, I feel as though our men, period, when they hold something about themselves, when they are educated, they are feared. So that one is called Fear. Respectfully, it's called Fear. So I give credit to our men because they are still needed. As much as we celebrate ourselves as women, we cannot forget about our men because it's about unity, and there's always reason why we're both created, and it needs to be a stronger bond between men and women, our men and women. So Fear. From the islands of Haiti to the west where hustles are born. All across lands, hiding fire in his hands, he's seen more than most. He's intellectually ghetto. His I don't give a vibes receives respect. Luxurious as his melanin, his antennas, his windows to a soul. You'll never see him fold. He wears his crown to pass down to the one that grows. To carry on and to continue what he may not possess anymore. He's feared and deeply adored. On this land, many may never know. So that one, I'm just really proud of that one because I always like to touch his beard, so it was one of those things where I just like the fact that I just want to bring out the texture, how you can feel it if you can see it, and the 3D effect of it. But that piece, again, going back to the person that inspires me, he was in the military, he's from Haiti, and he grew up on the West Coast, but he got 2 degrees from Methodist while he was here in Fayetteville. And he inspired me to the most. He's a long-term friend of mine. And I just did a piece because his beard, that was the only thing, because his beard. And I wanted to make sure I had his beard stand out. But all the other pieces, of course, I'm a huge Malcolm X fan, so I put Malcolm and music together, 2 things that kept me inspired and kept me sane, especially music. But Malcolm is somebody who inspires me as a spirit guide, just because of his fearlessness when he goes out to speak. And I feel as though I embody that when I do go out to speak, because when I do speak, I don't hold back what I have to say. I keep it respectful. I'm not out there just being belligerent or whatever, but I let it be known that we want a cure. It's not because of me, it's because there's a million other people. There's millions of other people who deserve that kind of answer, who deserve that answer. This piece here, of course, going back to the men, immortal man. But the immortal sign is an Adinkra, West African symbol, but then the lines help to kind of reverse that because he's immortal. He's not mortal. He doesn't die. He's not going anywhere. And then, of course, Winnie Mandela, Assata Shakur, self-explanatory if you know the history on them. Women of empowerment, women that spoke and moved the nation.